Johnny Somali is going to prison. Well, how about that?
I know for a fact I'm not going to go to jail. Not one day in jail. I'm going to laugh my off when all these are saying I'm going for 30 years, 20 years, 5 years, 10 years. Bro, I'm telling you, I'm not even going to do one day, bro. They're going to give me a fine. They're going to say, don't come back to Korea. You're the one who's going to look so dumb when I don't get any jail time or anything. Like, bro, I'm going to laugh. Like,
Johnny Somali, aka Ramzi Khalid Ismail, has been sentenced to 6 months and 20 days in prison with labor in Seoul, South Korea.
They put him on the fucking workforce, bro. They said, you're gonna turn big rocks into little rocks for half of a year. By the way, it should have been way longer.
Today. We're going to get that today on The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be around judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney who's been tracking this from beginning to end. And today we're going to break out the exact reasons for the guilty plea, his imprisonment, his sentence, and what happens next.
Is Andrew enjoying his time in Korea too much?
So let's get into what happened today in Seoul, South Korea. So first of all, to just get to my opening statements, Ramzi Khalid Ismail, aka Johnny Somali, was found guilty on all 8 charges. So there were 4 counts of business obstruction, 2 counts on the Minor Crimes Act, and 2 counts of the deepfake distribution. Guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to 6 months in prison with labor, an additional 20 days of detention, and 5 years of offender status, with his phones being permanently confiscated. But how did we get there?
Damn.
Well, we got there through a
fucking got him.
Team effort. I started this in front of the same courtroom, and their photo here today is a photo, and once again in front of that same courtroom today. But it was a team effort. My team, the Somali conviction team, worked very hard submitting evidence, submitting facts, and really getting into it with this process where we wanted to have jail time instead of the normal process where foreigners are often just given a fine and let go, which we thought could be a very, very real possibility if there was not more attention on this. And you can see we had Korean media which interviewed us.
A team effort to get this retard put in jail. Bro, so worth it. Completely worth it.
And many people from the team were there. You've got Professor Ulrich Nod, you've got Kingman Lee, who's showed up off of X. You've got Atozi, you've got myself, Gabe, another.
That's right. That's the guy from Twitter. Oh my God.
Who showed up, who saw the coverage. You've got Atozi's editor. Everybody worked together. This was a huge team effort. There are a lot of people that aren't even pictured in this that worked together to get this done. And because of the coverage of this, and also the coverage in Korean media, as you see here, that actually led to a different result than normal. But let's get into the trial facts itself. So how did the trial start? Well, the trial started packed with observers. Now, the first time I came, there was hardly anybody.
I told you guys, people love to watch an execution. They want to see it. Give the people what they want.
In that courtroom about a year and a half ago. However, today, standing room only. People were standing, sitting on the floor, all there for Somali. They had to put up actually the red tape. They had to line people up. It was very, very much more chaotic than normal. Now, strict security was enforced. There was no phones or recording, as well as no reactions or expression. At one point, when someone smiled during the courtroom, the bailiff actually corrected them to, hey, no expressions, no, keep it serious, keep it somber. And the judge did remain the same throughout the trial. Now, the prosecutor did change in the spring from the older male prosecutor that was there before to a new female prosecutor, which was there today in this case. Now, what happened? Well, first, there was the guilty portion, because first they had to assess the guilt, because Ramzi had pled guilt on 6 of the charges, the business obstruction and the Minor Crimes Act, but still reasserted his non-guilty plea regarding the deepfakes. So the judge found Somali guilty on the deepfakes, as we predicted he would, because a reasonable person of the age and gender of the victims would experience shame at the deepfakes. The judge then went on to say, okay, you're guilty, now let's talk about sentencing. And he said, in his opinion, there were both mitigating and aggravating factors for the sentencing of Somali.
What's mitigating?
So the mitigating factors that he explained in this case were for that victims Jungman and Hank Yu did not want Somali to be punished. And there
fuck that. He gonna do it with somebody else again. Maybe they white.
been a settlement with Jungmann that they tried to get the charges dropped. So they weren't dropped, but the judge did say he did factor that in for mitigation. They also said that victim Bong Bong did not experience severe shame or embarrassment. And had she experienced more severe embarrassment, perhaps there would be a more harsh punishment. They also said, and this is very interesting, that the travel ban and the inability to return home were technical disadvantages for Somali. Well, that was very curious to me, because if he had been allowed to leave and go home, he clearly would have not come back and not face any punishment, never gone to jail. He would have just not come back to Korea. However, he did bring up aggravating factors. The aggravating factors he brought up were that Somali repeatedly committed crimes primarily for YouTube revenue and broadcasted these with no regard for the victim. He also said that Somali showed clear disregard for Korean law. This is something he understood from the files that he
went there because he thought he could get away with it. That's why all of these guys fuck around in Korea and Japan, and none of them fuck around in China. That's the real reason. And that's why I think they need to come down so hard on this.
And the Somali conviction team submitted to them, showing that he didn't care about Korean law, disrespected the judge, the prosecutor, and really the Korean system at large. He said that the Korean system is an absolute joke, and because of that, he wanted to show how much of a joke it was.
Exactly.
Shout out to President you, the judge, the prosecutor, y'all can suck my dick. Bitch ass bitches. Suck my dick on soft.
Now, he also did bring up the risk of repeat copycat crimes, and saying that because Johnny Somali is a type of streamer which can be copied and repeated, this is a risk, and they need to set a precedent to deter other streamers from coming in. Now, whether or not 6 months will actually deter people is up for debate. A lot of people, even myself included, think it's not severe enough to deter everybody, but perhaps it can be some sort of deterrent. But he did factor that in as an aggravating factor.
Like 6 years.
So when he handed down the sentence, he explained very clearly it was 6 months in prison with labor. That will be in a specialized prison for labor, also in a prison for offenders, because he had 5 years of offender status, so he can be nowhere near women or children, and he also has to be away from certain types of locations as well. So he can't do all sorts of labor, but he will be laboring in prison. He also will have an additional 20 days of detention, and his phones are permanently confiscated. He will never get back that Galaxy or iPhone ever again. The judge also explained that there are several questions about flight risk and whether he would be immediately detained. They gave him the option to remain silent, but instead Johnny Somali decided to speak and decided to lie even more. So when Somali spoke, the judge...
So let me get this straight. So even in his sentencing, whenever they're delivering the verdict, he's still running bullshit on him. Like, what is wrong with this guy?
The judge asked him if he was still a student. Somali lied. He said, yes, Arizona State University. We all know this is untrue. He hasn't been a student for quite a long time. The judge asked if there's any other reason why he should not be immediately
We need to have an investigation into Arizona State to figure out how a person with like an IQ of about 53 managed to get into a higher learning university. We really should figure out how that happens, because I think somebody made a mistake there. Somehow a mistake was made.
Somali said, I have family in my home country that I miss deeply. And I know I have to pay for my crimes, but I'd be grateful if you gave me a second chance, because I think I can do better. Well, the judge kind of ignored this plea because it didn't actually answer the question of why he shouldn't be immediately detained. Of course, they're not going to let him go home. That's ridiculous. He's already been sentenced. The prosecutor stated, in fact, that he does pose a severe flight risk and should be detained immediately.
Of course.
Now, he was given another chance to speak, to kind of respond to the prosecutor. Somali again lied and said, throughout the court proceedings from 2025 to now, I have refrained from doing anything to harass the public.
Why do you even
talk? So I feel this has taught me a vital lesson. Of course, we know that's not true. We have the sexual harassment charges that were filed based on his activity during that period, and those are filed in the Eastern District. We also had several instances where he was harassing people in public, where he was insulting people, getting drunk. So we know that's not true. But the judge said, okay, really, that none of that is relevant. We're going to find a significant flight risk and detain him immediately. So the judge then explained that there's 7 days for both Somali or the prosecution to appeal. This is very important because the prosecution can find that this was too light. They recommended 3 years, and he
only 3. Oh, come on, guys.
only got 6 months. So the prosecution has a chance to go to the court and say, no, we need more time. We think this is not fair. Somali can also try to appeal this, but the thing is for Somali, where appeals really aren't going to work in his favor, is the average appeal takes about 6 months. So if Somali is angry about this, he has to appeal from jail.
So wait a minute. So if you want to appeal your 6-month jail sentence, it takes 6 months and you have to wait in jail. I like this. Gotcha, bitch.
Jail. So while he'll be in jail, he'll be serving that time. By the time he would appeal it for saying it's too severe, well, his term will probably be up. He'll probably be at the end of his sentence where he's already served that prison labor. Now, the bailiff did escort Somali out after that, after they explained the chance for appeal, the 7 days for appeal. His possessions were taken. Somali seemed to be prepared to go to jail as he brought a full backpack with all of his things. And he was...
That's sad, man. He knew. Like, it's crazy. Honestly, it's almost surprising to me because, like, this means that he was, like, maybe his IQ is all the way up in, like, the 60s. That's pretty good, right? Because, like, I mean, this means that he can comprehend and understand, like, a future state of events. That's big. I didn't know that we were operating on this level of reasoning here. Like, that's, oh my God.
Handcuffed.
Perfect rock breaking IQ? Yeah, I think he's perfect for turning big rocks into little rocks. I do.
Immediately and taken to a side room where he'll be bussed over to the detention center and they'll eventually decide which prison to send him to. Yeah. After Somali left the room and we saw him be, taken off and handcuffed, all the observers left. Now, Korean media was waiting outside, and myself, others, Atozi, we were interviewed about how we felt about it, and we gave our true opinion, which is we are happy that he was proven wrong, but we think that he deserved more time there. Absolutely. They also asked us if we were talking as YouTubers or Americans or whatever, and I answered that we're talking...
I'm speaking as a citizen of the world, okay? Should have put him in jail for at least 5 years. At least 5 years and live stream the whole thing. Put a camera in his fucking cell and then have people be able to TTS donate to it and it plays a sound. And it can flash a light. That's it. That's what I would do. That if that was me, that's what I would do.
As people interested in the truth.
That's what they did in Guantanamo Bay. Remember that? Back in the good days? Whoa. Gotta bring that back.
Interested in revealing the Korean court process and getting the truth out there, both to Korea, Americans, everybody, and making sure he serves the time that he should serve and he's punished appropriately. So here's my judgment. Somali was proven wrong when he said, I promise you I won't spend 1 day in jail.
I know for a fact I'm not going to go to jail. Not 1 day in jail.
I'm going to show you guys how far I can push the boundaries, and I'm going to show you that the Korean government is not going to do anything to me. The Korean legal system.
See, this is the mind. This is the mind of people that are outside of developed countries. This is the mind of a person who has, like, if you bring enough people like this into a developed Western country, they will destroy the country. They will totally destroy the country. And the reason why is because they view tolerance as weakness. They view understanding as inability. They view a lack of action as a lack of confidence. And whenever they're treated lightly and, it's like, okay, well, we understand. That works really well in a place like Japan. It works really well in a place like, maybe Vermont or Norway. But it doesn't work whenever you bring people like this into the country. They turn everything into shit. That's what they do. This mentality destroys cultures. it destroys cities, and it will destroy an entire country. Every country where this is the dominant mentality is an absolute abject, poverty-ridden shithole.
Is not as strong as people think and perceive it to be.
That it makes me very, very happy.
See? Exactly. It's exactly the words I used. You got to understand where these people's heads are at. You do. You got to, once you understand he was born in the U.S., though, this isn't a nationality thing. It's not a racial thing. There are white people that do this. There's black people that don't do this. It's a mentality. The mentality is the problem. I think there's cultures that have this mentality way more, and there's certain countries where this culture is prevalent, and they're even worse. But the more people you have in your country, and that are in your country that are like this, the worse your country is. It's that simple.
Happy that Somali was once again proven wrong on that. However, objectively, 6 months and 20 days is a light sentence.
Yeah.
At least 2 years would have been appropriate, particularly given the prosecution's recommendation of 3 years.
Yeah.
That would have been a compromise where they didn't get the full 3 years, but they also didn't get a small amount. 6 months is too light.
Yeah,
and
I think
because
so
of
too.
that, we strongly encourage the prosecution to appeal. And we will be, along with the Somali conviction team, myself, encouraging the prosecutors to appeal. We also have the CHS, child sexual harassment charges, that are still floating out there in the Eastern District. We're going to be encouraging that district to bring those charges, because those charges can be brought while Somali is in jail, and that could result in him being in Korea for an even longer time. But I want to know what you guys think about this final judgment about 6 months, 20 days in jail, and the 5 years of offender status. Do you think that's long enough? Do you think he needs more? And what do you think about the entire process? Until next time,
I'm happy.
bye.
Look,
but I want to remind everybody that the
what's
Cabbage
this?
plushies are now live.
that
So if
from
you want to
Lost
get
Ark?
one of these Cabbage plushies, if you like my coverage of the Ramsey Khalid
Mocha
Ismail
seed.
Johnny Somali case, you can get one of those in the link below.
What
that's
the
pinned
hell?
in the comments and in the description. Thank you.
wow. That's a nice little plushie. I have a lot of plushies. I like plushies. This is probably the, if I was trying to apply for asylum in Britain, that's probably one of the things that I'd say. Like, well, look how many plushies I have. Of course I'm gay. So anyway, I wish it was longer. I do. I think 6 months is a great amount. It's awesome. I'm happy. But think about how much greater and how much awesomer it would be if it was like 3 years. If it was like 5 years, right? That would be way better. Because I think 6 months isn't enough for, like, people hear that. And it's like multiple years. Like, because the goal of this, and I'll link the video, give it a like. I watch Andrew's videos all the time, Legal Mindset. He's great. And, my opinion is, like, it should always be worse, right? I always want things to be worse for people like this. I always want it to be more extreme. I always want it to be, like, I want it to be, like, performatively punitive. I want it to be, like, we're going to do this to you. We know it's not fair. That's why we're going to do it to you. Like, that's what I want to see, bro. Like, I want to see it locked in. I want to see people like this made an example out of. Like, that's the way I see it, right? That's what I want to see happen. 5 years of camera in his cell. Yeah, send a message. Because it's about sending a message. Protect the rest of the people from dealing with this bullshit.